Hello student, welcome. Today we will learn our next chapter named Linux. Linux word we have heard in last chapter. From that word we easily understand that Linux is the name of the operating system. Operating system are different. We have already know about the different operating systems available in the market, and the operating system helps us to operate the computer. The Linux operating system is very best operating system with the virus free system. We will see some points written over the textbook. First, things to learn: the Linux system, the file system, wildcard, path name, login process, file naming rule, and directories. Out of the point, out of the different points, we will discuss about some points from that chapter. So let's start. The Linux system. Linux is freely available operating system available over the internet. As I told in last chapter that Linux operating system is freely available over the internet. You can download it, you can install it into your computer. You can use that system. But regularly we use the Windows system. It is very familiar to us. Another operating system is Linux. Linux is very useful operating system. We will see the different functions, different parts related to that operating system in this chapter. Different versions of the Linux operating systems are called distribution. There are different versions related to the Linux operating system. In that operating system, there are different versions. We can call it as distribution. And the popular distribution of Linux are Red Hat and SUSE. SUSE, SUSE. These are the popular two distribution in that operating system. The Linux system mainly comprises of the kernel, the shell, and the command and application. We will see different on that picture. You can see over the picture. I will show. In this picture you can clearly see the kernel, shell, user and application. Kernel can interact with the hardware. User needs to be passed up to the hardware through the kernel. There is the kernel of Linux system. We will discuss about that. Open the next page of your textbook. The description about the kernel we can see very clearly here. So the diagram you can see over the right side of your textbook contains the devices, memory, CPU, applications are there. User is there at the bottom. You can see you can use the different applications like music, text and etc. Also it plays through the application with the hardware part like CPU, disk, memory, devices can be also take part in that system through the kernel. You can see at the middle stage there is a kernel. The kernel we can see in our textbook the definition and description about the kernel. The kernel is the core system. Kernel is the core of Linux system and its function is to keep a watch on all the resources of computer system, input, output and storage devices. What do you mean by the resources? In the last period, I have told you about the resources of the computer. Resources can be any one of them. It can be a keyboard or mouse, printer or scanner. We easily can say it as the system. The resources of the computer systems are input, output, storage devices, workstation and communication channel. The resources I have already told to you. The main function of the kernel is to keep watch on all the resources. Keep watch on all the resources is the main function of the kernel. The second definition, the shell. The shell. The shell is a special program that acts as an interface between the user and the Linux operating system. We can see in the image, shell is there, can use the operating system, work inside the operating system. What it do inside the system? The shell is a special program that acts as an interface between the user and the Linux operating system. It interprets the command given by the user through the input devices into the language that the operating system can understand. What is the work of the shell? It interprets the command given by the user. What it can do? It interprets the command given by the user through the input devices to the operating system. So the operating system can be easily understood with the help of the shell, because shell interprets, interpretation that converts the user, what the user have written or what the user have given the command to the computer through the shell. It passes towards the operating system with the help of shell. The program is stored in the file name passwd in a subdirectory of Linux. Every system contains the different programs for managing the system or for the system programming. So shell programming is one of them. Shell is the special program act as an interface or that can interpret the user's command and can transfer to the operating system. This is the main work. So memorize that two definitions again. Kernel. What is the function of kernel? Again we will see. You can watch another diagram over your screen for getting more knowledge about the kernel. Kernel is a program constitutes the central core of a computer operating system. It is a bridge between the application and the actual data processing done at the hardware level. It is the bridge between application and the actual data. It is heart of operating system. Kernel is the heart of operating system. It is the very best important sentence for you. You can memorize it very easily. It is the heart of operating system. It has the complete control over the everything that occurs inside the system. It controls, kernel can control, can watch what is going on with the input output devices or the other devices, or we can say easily as a resources. Kernel watch over the resources. And our second point, the shell. Shell interprets between the command of the user and the operating system. We can easily say that a shell is the special program for interface between the user and the Linux operating system. We can say easily. Move towards the next paragraph. There are different type of shell programs that have been developed for the Linux. We can see at the bottom in the different color. We can see over the textbook very easily. ash, tc, sh, zsh, bash and x Windows. So out of this example we will see the bash example at the bottom. Out of this, the most commonly used is the bash. Most commonly used is bash. The long form is born again shell. The shell it is used on the born and corn shell which were originally developed for the Unix operating system. The shell programming examples is there. The main example is bash, born again shell. You can memorize the word. Just you can write the meaning of the word. You can write the example of the shell programming in your notebook. Instead of writing the details about that, you can write just examples over there and the explanation of the bash as the simple full form of that born again shell. The commands make the utilities in the Unix. See at the bottom of your textbook, you can see very clearly after I am moving my live video. The command make the utilities in Linux. All the applications programs such as word processor, spreadsheet, database are loaded with the Linux command. Spreadsheet, word processor. Word processor, that means, have you used the Microsoft Word? Something like that. Word processor, we can see that word processor is also called the Microsoft Word. Spreadsheet, the another name is Microsoft Excel, and databases we can see the Microsoft Access are loaded with the Linux command, are also loaded with the Linux command. Linux commands also supports to load the different softwares like word processor, spreadsheet and databases also can load inside the Linux command. All the utilities and programs are run through the shell. All the utilities can run through the shell. We can see all the definitions over the page is very important definitions. So the next topic is login process. It is the main process. You already have seen this process in your computer while starting also. Login process is very important. So for the Linux it is also similar as the Windows system. Whenever you start the computer, then first process is login process. Why we use that type of process? Because for getting the security from the unauthorized person. Login process is very important. In that login process we will learn the different type of definitions. So keep it in your mind. Login process is very important. So let's see. Linux works in both the type of interfaces, character user interfaces and graphical user interfaces. In the Windows also there was the use of CUI and GUI. We have discussed in just the last video of the operating system. In that system we already know that the meaning of CUI and GUI. CUI means character user interface and GUI means graphical user interface. Linux works in both types of interfaces. Linux is a multi-user operating system. Each user create and access his or her files on the system. This is the reason why each user has unique identification. There can be more than one user can access the data, so there should be a login process. Due to the login process, only the authorized person can access the data. Linux asks for the identification. When you want to work on it, This identification information is in the form of username and password. The identification process is of two types. If you don't know one of the type from the both type, username or the password, you can't log in inside the system. So both are important, username and password. So what is username? Once you identify yourself by entering the correct username and password, you are free to work on the Linux. If you don't know the username and password, you will not be authorized to log in the system. Always remember that both the username and password are case sensitive. Case sensitive means case, lowercase and uppercase. We regularly type some words in capital, some words in small letter, but whenever you give the username and password, then properly keep it in your mind that where you put the small letter and where you have already put the capital letter. So we can say it as two type of cases are there, the uppercase and lowercase. Uppercase means capital letter and lowercase letters means small letters. If you have entered capital R, small c, D, capital D, so at the time of login process, you also should have entered in such a manner that you have already given that type of password at the timing of generation of the password. So it is very important, the case sensitive point. So in the login process, there are the 3 points are important. The operating system Linux supports both the interfaces CUI and GUI. The password and username should be already known, and this is third point is it is case sensitive, means lowercase and uppercase characters or the symbols are different. Uppercase and lowercase letters are different. So you should have to keep it in your mind that how you are giving the password or username to the Linux system. So if you forget that type of password or username, you will not be able to log in to that system. So the next topic, the file system. The file system are different: ordinary file, directory file, special file, link and pipe. We can see inside the ordinary file, this file store the data, information and instruction. In directory files, this file contains all the information about the directory and subdirectory and files. So special files include the file contain the function of the kernel, and link file type of file contains the file act as a alias of the actual file to which it points. Link means to point out. And the last pipe, the file act as the channel between the processes and carries the information from one place to the another place. So that are the different file system you can see at the bottom of your textbook page. Okay, so we will meet in the next point. So keep it in your mind, all the definition of Linux, the detail about the Linux, what is kernel, what is shell, the example of shell programming, and what the shell programming support, how the Linux system support in different applications like word processor, spreadsheet, and in different softwares, the login process, and the last topic is file system. In the login process, you also can keep it in your mind that 3 points are important. In the first paragraph, first line; in the second paragraph, second line of the paragraph; and in the third paragraph, the both username and password are case sensitive. Sentence is very important. So thank you.